Now, when I looked at the scripture, I saw some of the records of the patriarchs, and I told myself, this thing we are doing is either it's a joke or we have not understood what God is expecting. Because the testimony of this man is so supernatural that if we are not careful, in our generation the Bible will be called a book of fairies. We will make the scripture look like fairy tales, because our disadvantage will make it look as if what was said in time past were not true. And when people read the Bible, they will say they are fictions, because the only reason they will believe what was said 2,000 years ago is if we can manifest it now. So the same way the Bible is a witness, you too are a witness. That's why Jesus said, go into all the world and be witnesses unto me. So on one side the witness, on another side we are also witnesses, but we can't witness until the rivers begin to flow. Romans 15 verse 4, it said the things that were written aforetime, it said they were written for our learning, so that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Before I show you the rivers of your spirit, let me show you some of the things that were manifested before you came. Because if you are not careful, you will think what you are offering is all God has to offer. A generation has demonstrated something before we came, and as far as God's calendar is concerned, we should manifest superior dimensions, because it's from glory to glory. If we can't manifest what they have manifested, then we are in trouble already. This is why everybody here must become dangerously deliberate about manifesting God. Genesis 14 verse 14 to 15, we saw the life of Abraham. One man had 318 trained servants. What economic structure was he working with? That was a city in one man's house. Those were servants, and they had enough to train servants. Today we are struggling with one nanny. We can't pay our children's school fees, and we are serving the same God. There is something we don't understand. Abraham was going to fight against 4 kings with servants he trained in his house. They had competence that was superior to armies trained by 4 different nations, because he was not just working with principles, he had mysteries. If you read verse 15 of that scripture, the Bible said, and Abraham divided himself among men. So the people who went to war were not 318 servants plus Abraham. They were 319 Abrahams. He had a technology. He divided himself among men. A theologian can say they grouped themselves into 4. That's not what the Bible is saying. This was a technology of priesthood that Abraham caught. God told him, I will bless you and make you a great nation, and from you nations shall be born. So Abraham knew he was not a man. Abraham knew that worst case he was a nation. So if Abraham put himself in you, then you too become a nation. That's why there was no record that there was casualty, because it was 319 nations against 4 nations. What did the man know? Where did he enter in God that made him wield that level of power? And here we are struggling with people who are inconsequential, and we call it warfare. What battles are we fighting? One man stood up without any prior information. They have arrested your nephew Lot. 4 kings have taken him. Hey, stand up. 318 servants stood up, and they went to battle, defeated them, and came back. When the king wanted to gift him, he said, no, I won't take a latchet from you, lest you say you made Abraham rich. My wealth comes from yonder. My God supplies my need. I'm richer than the nations of the earth. What did he know? These are the men who came before we showed up. So when you are telling God this battle is too much, 10 people have ganged up against me. Say 10 people. Did you read about your fathers? One took 4 nations. who are 10 men. That's why he said, surely they shall gather, but it shall not be by me. Every tongue that rises up against you in judgment, he didn't say God shall condemn. No, he said thou shall condemn. Thou shall condemn, because there is something that passes through your spiritual genealogy. One man can take 4 kings. That's the lineage we come from. We come from a lineage of champions. A man took 4 nations, and that's not all. After Abraham, Moses showed up, and Moses was trying to do it in the flesh. They said that's a wrong protocol. Go back to the mountain. There was something Abraham saw. There was a being Abraham encountered. There was a dimension Abraham stepped into. And when Jethro, who is of the descendants of Abraham from Keturah, who understood priesthood, saw that Moses had passion, he told him, this thing is beyond passion. Go and encounter Elohim. And the Bible said Moses went to the backside of the wilderness. There he saw a bush burning that was not consumed. And he said, I will turn aside to see this. And suddenly he heard, take off thy sandals. Where you are standing is holy ground. The immortals walk here. Cherubims walk here. Princes of Zion walk here. This is where Elohim dwells. Take off thy sandals. And immediately he followed the new protocol. And they told him, you don't need extra weapon. The staff you have is enough. Drop it. He dropped it. It became a serpent. Pick it by the tail. He picked it. Go. You have been fortified. What is going on here? The man had been changed. In Exodus 7 verse 1, behold, I have made thee a god unto Pharaoh. So there are men who are God over other men. I'm telling you true. That's the lineage we come from. The hidden are not our contemporaries. They are our servants. And the guy showed up and shut down the biggest civilization of his era. He comes to Pharaoh. The Lord of the Hebrews have sent me. Let my people go that they may serve me. Pharaoh thinks it's a joke. Don't worry, you look for me. The next day a plague shows up, and after the 9th plague, Moses showed up and said, you will not see me again. I come here to see you is a privilege. You will never see me again. And true to his words, he was never seen. And when Moses was leaving, can we celebrate those? Suddenly, sir, the visible Shekinah, Exodus 13:21, began to walk with an ordinary man. God was escorting him out of Egypt. And he said the pillar of cloud went after him in the day, and the pillar of fire by night. The guy shows up before a sea. There was no canoe. That's what we call an emergency. And he turned to the Lord. They said, why are you turning to me? There is something in your hand. Stretch forth your rod. I'm telling you why you must let the river flow. You carry more than enough for any crisis of life. Stretch forth thy rod. When he stretched the rod, he didn't know what was happening in heaven. See, when what is in you moves, heaven moves. And when he stretched the rod, the Bible said, with a blast of his nostrils, he parted the Red Sea, and over 4 million men walked through on dry ground. And you think that is all? They enter a wilderness. No economic structure, no security structure. How do you sustain 4 million people? They needed water. Speak to the rock. Do rock have ears? As if that is not enough, their clothes didn't tear. Their shoes grew with them. A child of 7 months, they make a shoe. He's 30 years, he's still using the same shoe. Because shoe too has technology of compression and compliance under the glory. That's the heritage we come from. That's why when we tell you our God sustains men, we are not psyching you. There are testimonies in scripture. It said the things that were written aforetime, they were written for our learning. You can trust God, sir. It's not fairy tale. Men have proven his faithfulness. They proved his faithfulness. And that's not all. You read the Chronicles and you keep seeing them. Joshua shows up. Joshua chapter 10 from verse 12 to 14, fighting in a battle. Joshua saw that when it is night, they will be disadvantaged. And the man stood up and said, let the sun stand upon the mountains of Ajalon. Let the moon remain upon the valley of Gibeon. And the Bible said the man didn't even pray. He was commanding the constellations. The Bible said the sun did not make haste to go down in the day that God hearkened to the voice of a man.